Pull a dollar out of your pocket. Go ahead, I'll wait. I am Sarah, and I have my dollar bill. Now look at that little symbol in the corner, the S with the line through it. That symbol is on every price tag, every receipt, every bank statement you have ever seen. It is probably the most recognized symbol on planet Earth. Most Americans, however, have absolutely no idea where it originated. Today is July 6th, 2 days after America's 250th birthday. And I thought, what better way to come down from the celebration than to tell you the wildly entertaining, almost unbelievable story of how this country got its money. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never look at a dollar bill the same way again. Let's go back to colonial America. Before the Revolution, before independence, before any of this was decided, you wake up in Philadelphia in, say, 1750. You want to buy a loaf of bread. What do you pay with? Well, that depends. If you are lucky, you might have a British shilling, or a Dutch guilder, or a French livre, or a Portuguese coin called a Johannan, which colonists just nicknamed a Joe because nobody could be bothered with the full name. Or an Indian wampum bead, or a chunk of tobacco, or a beaver pelt if you happen to have one handy. This is not a joke. This is how colonial America worked. Britain, you see, refused to send enough coins to the colonies. They did not want the colonists to have a functioning, independent economy. So the colonists made do with whatever money happened to wash up on their shores through trade, which meant 13 separate colonies all using 13 different combinations of random foreign currency, none of which matched up neatly with any other. The bookkeeping alone was enough to make a grown man weep. And then, of all the coins floating around the Atlantic world, one rose to the top. Not a British coin, not a French coin, a Spanish one. The Spanish silver dollar, known formally as the Real de a Ocho, or in English, the piece of 8. You know this coin. Even if you do not know, you know it. It is the coin that pirates scream about in every adventure story ever written. It is the coin that parrots in those stories are trained to screech. Ska! Pieces of 8! Pieces of 8! And here is why that coin mattered. The Spanish were mining extraordinary quantities of silver in Mexico, Bolivia, and Peru, and they were minting it into coins of absolutely consistent weight and purity, every single one. You could take a Spanish dollar anywhere in the world, London, Shanghai, Cape Town, the Caribbean, and people would accept it without question. It was, essentially, the world's first global currency. And because it was everywhere, it became what colonial Americans actually used day to day, not the British pound, the Spanish peso. So when the revolution came, when America declared independence and said, "We are building our own country now," one of the first things the new nation had to figure out was, what are we going to call our money? Here is the problem. Fighting a revolution is expensive. Guns are expensive, soldiers need to eat, ships need to be built. And the new Continental Congress, having just broken away from Britain, had no established tax system, no treasury, no gold reserves, and absolutely no credit with anyone. So they did what desperate governments throughout history have done. They printed money. They called it continental currency, paper dollars. They printed them by the millions. And at first, it worked fine. And then they printed more, and then more, and then, because the war kept going and they kept needing more money, they printed even more. By the end of the Revolution, the continental dollar had lost so much of its value that it was essentially worthless. One historian found an account of a wagon load of paper money being needed to purchase a wagon load of supplies. Thomas Jefferson himself reported that it took a wagon full of continental bills to buy a single suit of clothes. A barber in Philadelphia, and I love this detail so much, a barber in Philadelphia papered the entire interior of his shop with continental bills. Because that is what they were worth, wallpaper. And so the phrase entered the American language, not worth a continental, meaning absolutely, completely, utterly worthless. America had won the revolution, and it was broken, deeply, embarrassingly, spectacularly broke. It now had to build a country from scratch, and it did not even have a functioning currency to do it with. Enter Thomas Jefferson. Now, Jefferson had just finished writing the Declaration of Independence. You may have heard about it. We talked about it a couple of days ago. And you might think he was done doing brilliant things for a while. You would be wrong. Jefferson sat down and started thinking about money, about what kind of currency a new republic should have, and he had a very strong opinion. The British system, pounds, shillings, pence, was a nightmare. 12 pence to a shilling, 20 shillings to a pound, which means if you wanted to count all the way to a pound in the smallest unit, you needed 240 pence. 240. Jefferson, who was a scientist as much as he was a statesman, found this maddening. He wrote that when you tried to do basic math in the British system, you were constantly adding the pence, taking out the 12s and carrying them on, adding the shillings, taking out the 20s and carrying them on. He said it was needlessly complicated, prone to error, exhausting for merchants, farmers, and ordinary people who just needed to know how much their bread cost. His proposal was radical in its simplicity. Base the entire American money system on 10. 10 cents is a dime, 10 dimes in a dollar, 100 cents in a dollar. Clean, logical, easy to calculate in your head, democratic, because ordinary people, not just trained accountants, could actually understand it. Jefferson printed copies of his ideas and personally delivered them to every member of Congress. And then, because he had been appointed as the American ambassador to France, he got on a ship and sailed across the Atlantic. He was not even in the country on July 6, 1785, when Congress met and voted, unanimously, $1, 100 cents, a decimal system. America had its money. Now, Jefferson had solved the math, but there was still a practical problem. What should the dollar actually be worth? How heavy? How much silver? What exactly is a dollar? That is where Alexander Hamilton walked in and finished the job. Hamilton, as the nation's first Secretary of the Treasury, took the question of what a dollar was worth and attacked it the way he attacked everything, with ferocious, meticulous precision. He had the Treasury meltdown and analyzed dozens of old Spanish silver dollars that were still circulating in the economy. He measured their silver content down to the grain. And then he declared the American dollar would be worth exactly that much silver, not more, not less. The Spanish coin that had been the unofficial currency of the colonies for 100 years became the foundation of the new American dollar. America did not invent its money from scratch. It looked at what people were already using, what they already trusted, what already worked, and it said, that. We'll take that and we'll make it better. And now, the thing I promised you at the beginning, the dollar sign, that elegant, instantly recognizable S with a line, or sometimes two lines, slashed through it. Where did it come from? Spain. The leading theory among historians is that the symbol evolved directly from the way Spanish merchants abbreviated peso in their handwritten records. They wrote it as PS, P and S for peso. And over time, in the rush of daily commerce, scribes began writing the S on top of the P, the two letters merging, the upright strokes of the P becoming the line, or lines, through the S. The PS became the dollar. The most recognizable symbol of American economic power in the world is, at its origin, a Spanish abbreviation. There is another theory equally wonderful. On those Spanish pieces of 8, the coins themselves, the design featured the Pillars of Hercules, the two great columns that marked the edge of the known world at the Strait of Gibraltar, with a ribbon wrapping around them in an S shape. 2 pillars, an S, the dollar sign, right there on the coin, centuries before America existed. Either way, Spanish. And yet, that symbol, borrowed from a Spanish coin used by pirates, merchants, and colonial farmers, now represents the most powerful economy on Earth. The dollar is the world's reserve currency. When nations trade with each other, when oil is bought and sold, when international deals are made, they do it in dollars. The currency that started as an imitation of the Spanish peso, adopted by a broke new nation that had just won a revolution it could not afford to fight, has become the financial language of the planet. Not bad for a country that was wallpapering barbershops with its own money 72 years earlier. I love this story because it is so deeply, perfectly American. America did not inherit a finished system. It did not start with gold reserves, a functioning treasury, and a centuries-old currency. It started with 13 colonies using random foreign coins and beaver pelts. In the middle of a revolution, they were not sure they would win, with paper money so worthless that a barber used it for interior decorating. And then two brilliant, completely different men, Jefferson the idealist who wanted money simple enough for any farmer to understand, and Hamilton the pragmatist who wanted money solid enough to build an empire on, put their heads together. And they built the dollar. That is so often how this country works. Not perfection from the start, chaos first. Then someone looks at the chaos and says, okay, what do we actually have to work with, and what can we build? The dollar started as an imitation of someone else's coin, and it became the standard for the world. I think that is one of the most American things I have ever heard. And it makes me think, as it always does, about the things we build from what we have, the lives we construct from the materials we are given, the stories, the struggles, the creativity, the sheer stubbornness of ordinary people trying to make something that lasts. Those stories belong in writing. The story of how your family built something from nothing, the story of the chaos before the breakthrough, the moments when things were not worth a continental and you kept going anyway. Those stories are priceless, and a free family story writing guide is waiting for you right below this video. Please take it, because the legacy you leave is worth far more than anything you could put in the bank. I hope you are still feeling the glow of America's 250th birthday this week, because the stories keep getting better. If you loved today, subscribe to History Sparks and come back every single day. We find the surprising truth behind the things you thought you already knew, and we promise you will never run out of reasons to love the story of this country. Hit subscribe, share this with a friend who has never once wondered where that dollar sign came from, and if you have a dollar bill in your pocket right now, take one more look at it. That little symbol has traveled from the silver mines of Bolivia to the Spanish Empire, to a colonial barbershop, to Thomas Jefferson's desk, to Alexander Hamilton's treasury, and all the way to your wallet. It has had quite a journey. As I hold up this dollar bill, I remind you I am Sarah with stories to tell, and I will see you right back here on History Sparks.